Are you drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon? Of course. Absolutely, of course. They should sponsor us, actually. I think that's a great idea.
I mean, I've given them enough
That's
money.
what,
They really should.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Five Count. I'm Jack Edwards,
I'm Big George.
down there live from, yeah, big in Canada. Big in Canada.
Real
Also
big.
big in Canada is our special guest. Yeah, a guy I've known for 20 years, a Canadian wrestling legend, especially in Ontario. Very well respected guy. He's host of like 3,000 podcasts, live audio wrestling podcasts. The Merry Wanders, is that what? Do I pronounce that correctly?
The Mara Wanderers.
Oh, okay, now I get it.
And it pretty much sounds exactly like it says. Now that you look at the words and the letters, you understand how English works. Please continue.
Exactly. And then, oh, what the fuck? All right, whatever. Sorry, I guess now Twitter's requiring a premium account to go live. So, oh well, who cares? Anyway, he's the Notorious T.I.D. He's Chris Tidwell. Thank you so much for showing up on time.
Wow, that was a little kick in the can right there, huh? A little behind the curtain.
I'm kidding. He knows I'm kidding.
That's fine.
I'll get it back. Don't worry. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. You've done so much in wrestling. You've been involved a long time as far as I've been in it. Actually, you were the first interview I did with a wrestler when I was at the Orangeville newspaper back when Chris Drury was promoting the Hacksaw Jim Duggan show. Wow. And we got this great photo of you, Mike Fantastic, picking up the deputy mayor, who was this tiny little Italian guy. And he was like, and you guys were big. Then we had some lunch, which I probably had to pay for. But
do you have that picture? You still have that picture somewhere?
I might. I have to check my files, but we might be able to find it online from a past episode. But yeah, that was it. And so I've known you since then. But and I know a bit of your history. That you were from Vegas, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's not just a gimmick.
Yeah, I know it's not the gimmick. But what got you into wrestling? What was the territory? How did you get involved in wrestling? Because you obviously love it.
So growing up, I was a bit of a nomad gypsy family. I was born in Vegas, moved to California at a very, very, very young age. From there, back to Nevada, back to California, up to Oregon, up to Washington State, back down to Nevada again, all before I was 15 years old. You know what I'm saying? So that was the territory, right? And living in Vegas, I had the opportunity because it was AWA territory. They used to go to the Showboat Hotel. You know what I mean? You had those live shows at the Showboat Hotel and Casino that were fantastic. That's really where I fell in love with it. And then on TV down there, you got to see a bunch of the world-class championship wrestling stuff. And even the NWA TV show on TBS, that whole era where you'd sit down on a Saturday afternoon for 4 hours straight and watch their old studio shows. You know what I mean? With Flair and Dusty and the Four Horsemen and Nikita and Ivan Koloff and all of those days. And then I also had Pacific Northwest. I had the Portland wrestling stuff as well with the Don Owen stuff that had Billy Jack Haynes and Leapin' Lanny Poffo and Iceman King Parsons. You know what I mean? It was fantastic, So that was the whole era of pro wrestling that I grew up with at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Left with, you can even say. That's an era that you kind of have to be able to live in and kind of understand wrestling at that point in time, because of course there wasn't a lot of TV to kind of sell a lot of wrestling programs. So a lot of it, if you loved it, you were into it. So kudos to you for finding your niche as far as how to get into the business. But of course, getting into it, like, what were some of the things that you kind of ran across as some of like the first little hurdles that you kind of ran into getting into the business for yourself?
I mean, getting into the business wasn't really that hard. If I'm being perfectly honest with you,
Yeah, no.
because in Ontario, when I broke in, I'm a fucking giant. You know what I mean? Like, let's be legit about it, right? And there's not a lot of big dudes out there wrestling at the time, so it was very easy.
Yeah.
A partner of mine, had talked to me that I worked with across the street doing club stuff, and about training, and we went and did some training, and I ended up hooking up with Johnny K9 and Waldo Von Erich,
Okay.
out at the Hart Brothers School out there, and that's kind of where I cut my teeth. As well as, listen, I don't want to say it because I don't want to blow his horn or anything like that, but my old tag partner, Custom, Marcus Ryan, he was around back then too to help me do some training as well, right? And then we all kind of like there was a company around called HWF that kind of blossomed a lot of dudes in Ontario, right? It was Hardcore Wrestling Federation. When it started off, it was fantastic. It was a fantastic organization. They had sponsorships from beer companies, and they were doing arena shows in front of a couple thousand people. He's bringing in some old timers and stuff like that. Everybody was getting hotel rooms and travel and good pay, and it was steady. And the owner was, losing his mind the entire time. But there wasn't a lot of dudes that was willing to do what they were asking of the shows. That was doing a lot of like the hardcore stuff, doing more of the extreme stuff, because let's face it, ECW was very popular back then in the late 90s, early 2000s. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely.
So they wanted people that were going to be able to do that. And I was like, yeah, done right, this could be fantastic. I mean, I ain't about to just go out there and smash somebody in the head with light tubes or anything like that. You know what I mean? There's psychology and a work to what you do out there, and tell a story, right? You can still use that kind of stuff, but you still have to tell a story in some way, shape, or form. So I already kind of like had developed that end of it enough. You know what I mean? You look back now, I look back at it now, and I'm like, holy shit, you didn't know nothing from nothing. You as dumbass as they come. You know what I mean? But at the time, it was enough to get me into the locker rooms and get me onto shows and get me to talk to people that had been down the roads. The guys like the Hacksaw Jim Duggins of the world, the Jimmy Snukas of the world. Even Iron Sheik. Back then when you could catch him, on a decent day before nighttime fell, if you're on the road with him, and you can have some really good conversations with him, and he would tell you the way that it was. You know what I mean? Right. And you just kind of learn, and talking with Waldo Von Erich and Johnny K9 and stuff like that, and really learning what the old school mentality was of professional wrestling. And there wasn't a lot of people that adhered to it at that time, because there was a lot more small dudes in the business. You know what I mean? And everybody thought that, I can do flippy stuff now, so I can get in the business. The business that was going through that change, going through that transition. You know what I mean? Right around that time. So, yeah, being a big dude, I mean, it helped. It helped a lot at the time. With you.
And the guys that you're talking about around the Ontario, Canada area, like the Ontario, especially, like a pretty legendary guys like Johnny K9, no pun intended, is notorious for a lot of stuff. These were some tough dudes that were it wasn't like those are a different crew of guys that were breaking you.
It was probably the last crew of that. When you think of that old school wrestling, when you think of that old school mentality, that Memphis mentality, Smoky Mountain stuff, you know what I mean? Where you had to know how to handle yourself inside of a territory that you were walking into, because you didn't know what's up, right? And society was different. Society itself was completely different. You didn't know the cultural differences in the different territories. So you had to know how to handle yourself, right? And a guy like K9, who had been down that road, he was like over like Rover in Smoky Mountain. You know what I mean? One of Coronet's favorite dudes. He talks about him and whatnot, right? And had a fucking fantastic outing. You know, probably not the most liked guy because of his extracurricular activities outside of the world of professional wrestling. You know what I mean? But if you knew Johnny, then it was a blessing. You know what I mean? If he was good to you, he was very good to you. So I mean, I was fortunate enough with him. A guy like a Waldo Von Erich, who was just a heel's heel. You know what I mean? Taught you how to work that kind of like slow, methodical, like what? Just let it breathe. Let it breathe. Where you got to be. Where you got to be. You know what I mean? So,
Father of Lance.
That doesn't get any. You know, nobody does that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? The business has changed a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But so Tid, you've been doing this a long, long time. Like it's just. And did you ever have opportunities to go to WWE, or was that something you even looked at? But like, what kept you going? Like as your career, was it just the love of the business? Because I know I talked to other guys too. Like Mark is the same way. He just loves it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think you have to have that before anything else. I think the problem, not that it was a problem for me, but I think it was just the way that the cards were dealt. I was out on the road earlier on in my career and ended up breaking my neck. Had to come home early from a tour, had a C6 and C7 breakage, kept me out for quite some time. At that point, you kind of have to reassess where you're at. You know, reassess what your goals might be, what you can do, what your expectations are, what you want from the business, what the business can offer you. And so you kind of have to start all over again. Fast forward a few years, you know about this one. I had an accident where I had about 3,000 pounds worth of steel fall on my leg. I ended up with a double compound fracture in my left tibia and fibula, both bones sticking out the front of my leg, my knee looking one way, my foot looking the other way. It was, so they said I was going to be not even able to walk for about a year. I was back in the ring in 6 months. You know, so I mean, you had to have a love for it for sure, but you also had to know that the expectations were just completely different. So everything that I was going to do at that point was going to, just give back as much as I've learned from other people back into the business.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, because you're still doing that. You still, in the school. I mean, like the ring, you own the ring. I mean, we're going to talk about Bash at the Beach in a second. But like, and you're still even guys like, there's guys like Jake O'Reilly, who's done All Japan stuff, who's done like stuff in AW, Turva. A lot of these guys, Cody Deaner, you saw them all coming up. So like, and you're one of the guys who does give back. Is that how you see? Like, I know you're really beat up, so you're not working in as much. But is that how you see your role? You've seen your role over the last 10 or so years.
I mean, you kind of have to at that point. You have to make a choice. I think for myself, anyways. I can't speak for others who are in that position. But for myself, it was a matter of like, I need to, I know stuff. I should be able to give it back to other people that are trying to break in to the business. I think that times had changed enough to where society had changed enough to where you didn't break in the same way. And I wish I had somebody, even like me, who would be able to help me with the things that I didn't get help with. You know what I mean? There's certain things growing up in the business, breaking in and stuff like that. You have to learn it on your own out on the road. You have to learn it in the locker rooms. You have to learn it in the different towns. You just don't find out about it. You have to learn it from working with shitty promoters. You have to learn it from working with good promoters. You literally have to put your shoes on and get the F out the house. That's what it boils down to. But if I had somebody then who could just give me a little bit of guidance, fill you in just a little bit on what it's like out there. That would have been cool too.
Yeah.
That's an awesome way to look at it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, having help in the business, a lot of people don't always talk about how good that is as an experience. And you came up in the era where I'm pretty sure that it was kind of tough as far as getting somebody to kind of help you out as far as trying to learn the ropes and things like that. Because there's always the stories about, oh, we don't want no one taking our spots and things like that. So there's always that little intertwined jealousy that there is in the business that you can always kind of get. So of course, coming in at that particular point, like, yeah, I can understand how you could say that there was a little bit tough trying to come in and do some of the little things, but throughout the business and you being able to give back, like, what's your favorite part about it? Like, what's the best part about being able to give back for you?
I think it's a really good question. I think you're only as good as your legacy allows you to be. And what I mean by that is there's going to be people that I've taught and I've helped out in the business now that are there's some out there that are doing fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Some that are at some of the highest levels. And I'm very proud of what they're doing. And there's people still breaking in now, and I'm very proud of what they're doing. Just being able to leave something behind because, they say you're never dead until somebody forgets your name. You know what I mean? Until they stop saying your name, right? So as long as you can just keep passing that on, Waldo Von Erich is dead and gone. He's touched so many wrestlers' lives with his training and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And we'll still keep talking about him, right? Till the day that we die. And then we'll make sure that our students know about him, right? And so on and so forth. So I think that's really the biggest thing. I think outside of that, getting drunk with the boys in the locker rooms and in the hotel rooms and busting the promoters' asses and, making them do stupid things really late at night when they don't want to. That's really the most fun about the business, to be honest about it.
Hey,
I'm using his name for most stuff. That's right. The name Jizz Hands will never be forgotten. Unfortunately. So I want to tell the story because I've been promoting shows that Tid's been on for probably 20 years or so. But one of my favorites is, so Tid, he owns the ring and he brings the ring and it's a great arrangement. And I got this idea one day from the town of Wasaga Beach, who's been a great partner to us. They still bring us back when they can. That they had the Waterfront Festival, and this guy thought it'd be cool to put a wrestling ring on the beach. The problem with that is like the movement would impact the metal and the strength of the ring. I think, is that correct? I think that's fair in saying it.
Well, it's not a very flat surface to be putting a ring in there. There was no structure built to put said ring on that was going to be a flat surface. Literally setting this thing up like a volleyball net
on plywood.
That's dangerous.
It's just like you watched WCW like Bash at the Beach 1995, and you see like all these wonderful women and people everywhere, like 100,000 people, and it's just like Baywatches everywhere. Then you come to us, it's starting to rain. There's like 6 people there. But Tid says the first thing, tells everybody, don't hit the ropes. His partner, who I love, first thing he does, hits the rope, pulls the weld out of the fucking post. Tid's exact face was, he couldn't believe what happened. You could have, I'm laughing hysterically. Because at this point, I'm pretty astute. We're screwed. Like, there's nothing we can do. Oh, I think I muted him. No, I didn't. Anyway, we're screwed. But so I'm talking to our booker in the back, and he's like, why can't we just tuck tape it? I'm like, listen, it pulls from the well. He's like, oh, so we're fucked. I said, oh, we're so fucked. they did a show with no top rope, and everybody got paid. Probably not enough, but we did our best. But it's just like it was a horrible situation. But like, what a fantastic story! Like that, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not.
for you.
At least we got everything. Yeah, at least we got everything fixed though, and since then everything's been good. But George, I told Tid this. To this day, if I'm there and the first person hits the ropes, I'm like, because you never know. You never know. It sucked for the ring because Tid's ring's the best. That ring is, and he built it. It's the best ring. Like, that's all I ever hear. It's the best ring. And so it sucked that day, but like,
Yeah.
what do you
You live and
do?
you learn. You gotta live, you gotta learn, baby.
Yeah,
But at the
like
same time,
anybody, it's like
you can't lie.
I know
The
Tid's.
man did warn y'all, and at the end of the day,
Oh, he did. I thought
y'all-
he was like,
so,
I seen it. It was a final. It was a fucking Final Destination moment. I seen this shit happen. I go back to the locker room. I look everybody dead nuts straight in the face. I'm like, yo, I need everybody's attention. I got everybody's attention. I said, don't hit the fucking ropes. This ain't gonna hold up like that. Don't hit the ropes. You can hit the corners, don't hit the ropes. Everybody hear me? Yes, yes, yes. Everybody hears me. My own damn partner, thinking that he's like free from sin. He goes out there. First thing he does, we're talking not like an hour later. No, I'm talking we were first out.
5 seconds.
Literally within 15 seconds, he was inside of that ring.
he was like, "Fuck that."
And this motherfucker forgot. Bro, if there could ever be a sixth stooge, if there could ever be a sixth stooge in the world of the Three Stooges, yeah, Uncle Custom Marcus Ryan would be that dude.
That's hilarious.
We'll get him on the show. Like Custom, I love Custom, but it's just you couldn't have it couldn't have gone anywhere. It's like I know Tid's like he didn't curse me. That's how great he is. But I know he's thinking the fucking parking lot is 15 feet away. We would have been fine. But this guy wanted on the beach, and I think we did get some extra cash, as I recall, for the we always pay for the ring run, so I hope we did. But
the best part about it was then these motherfuckers that entire day were looking at the lake out there trying to figure out if they could set something up on a floating fucking raft and put the ring on it next. Out there oh yeah. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Oh, they was gonna sink y'all.
See, but if you got a big enough, strong enough flat surface and built you could, that would be better than what we had because this was moving.
A fucking aircraft carrier.
Well, let's do it. Let's book. So Tid,
amazing.
We do top 5 lists. We create top 5 lists. You, like you said, watch so much wrestling over your lifetime. So who are your top 5 guys? Like when you think of whatever way and whatever reason, but who are the top 5 guys that you look at in that pantheon?
It's funny when you asked me to come and do this, it was, and you had told me what the premise of it is. And I was like, wow, I've never, you get asked okay, who's your Mount Rushmore? I guess, which really is your top 5. I mean, if you want to break it down, subgenres it's, black metal and shit like that. It's your Mount Rushmore essentially. And I'll be honest with you, dude, a lot of people in the world have the same Mount Rushmore, and it's all justified. You know what I mean? You've got your Ric Flair, your Shawn Michaels, your Dusty Rhodes. You've got your typicals on there for whatever reason, and that's cool. Mine isn't really like that at all. I have my top 5 is really guys that make you believe what they're doing is real. Okay. I don't have to make you believe. There's an old saying in wrestling. I ain't the one who came up with this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have to make you believe that wrestling is real. I just have to make you believe what I'm doing is real.
Terry Funk.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah. I think that was a Terry Funk quote. Yeah.
It's true. So growing up, guys that I really liked for that, and some of the first guys like Nikita Koloff is definitely one of my guys up there, because that dude as a heel, even as a babyface, you know what I mean, at the times or whatever, but that dude as a heel with Uncle Ivan, holy shit.
He was yoked when he was fresh out of the gym and just jacked to the gills.
He was big.
Yo, dude was on everything but rollerblades. You know what I'm saying? And I talked to him about it. And the thing was, because if you ever saw him, like, and then he would put on the suit jacket, you know what I mean? That suit jacket was the worst fitting suit jacket that he could find, because he had to be something that fit him in the shoulders, but it didn't fit him anywhere else, because he was just ballooned right out of his gourd. It was great.
My wife called it. He was. It was funny. One time, my wife, she once called. She's like, "What are these?" I'm like, "Your trap." She's like, "Your trapezoids." But he had legit trapezoids, probably for fucking. His traps were mad when he was yoked, man, and he was intense.
Yeah,
he was intense.
His selling, and there's a guy who his first match was on TV, main event TV, very first match ever. He was told to show up, right? He got the job, and then was told, like, come back a couple of days later, shooting TV. He was in the main event for TV, and boom, off to the races. That's how Nikita Koloff got in. It's crazy, right? But then you think about other guys that would do that. For me, Bruiser Brody, another guy that's on my Mount Rushmore, because, I mean, when you're talking about a big guy that definitely would scare the living shit out of you. You know what I mean?
Did you see him in the AWA? Did you get to see him live?
Yeah. Right? So
what was that like?
I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't remember enough of it, right? Because I was a young kid. You know, I was still very young then, right? And I've done a lot of head bumpy things, John. I'm sure you're aware of that. So, you know,
allegedly,
and drugs. I've done a lot of drugs too. Kidding there.
Allegedly.
No, okay. To some people.
They don't know.
You know, but we're talking. Okay, let's talk AWA then, because another guy that's on my list, you know, is Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka is the guy that got me, like, to love professional wrestling. I'll tell you a quick one.
Yeah,
it was AWA, right? It was Jimmy Snuka when he was working his program with Colonel De Beers, right? And De Beers, Snuka's working some fucking whoever. De Beers comes fucking running out, right? Jumps Snuka, pulls back the pads on the outside, gives Snuka that DDT. Snuka's just covered in blood. Ambulance comes out. They drove Snuka to the hospital. That's how over the angle was. Everybody in the crowd was losing their mind. And it was at that point I was like, wow, that's really fucking commanding. Like, they've got everything on their hand. And it was Snuka. And then you find out, you know, later on, he's fine. But the way that he had everybody believe in everything that he did. I mean, he pulled off the best belief of them all, right?
Yeah.
Did he push down the stairs?
Yeah, and he. What did you just say?
I said, did he push her down the stairs or not?
I think it pushed her to the floor. I don't know if it was downstairs.
I can have a conversation. There's that. Cheers.
But I can see where you're coming. Anyways, but we're talking about that, right? So now then that you talk about some of the new school stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And some of the new school stuff, I mean, for me, it's got to be my boy New Jack, you know? And what I said, I told you, this is not a very conventional Rushmore. But if you look at it, it's dudes that you legit believed what they were doing out there was real. Now Jack might have taken it to the.
I'm about to say, New Jack probably wouldn't, shooting from the hip on that. A lot of that shit. A lot of that shit probably was 40% had to hold back, and a lot of it was probably more real than what it had to be.
Well, you would think that. You would think that, but it was probably a lot more the other way around. Listen, I worked Jack enough times to know that for myself, I would work Jack 8 days a week, 3 times on Sunday. You know what I mean? The first time I ever worked Jack, he shows up across the border, right? And we're sitting in the locker room. I introduced myself. He introduced himself. Fine. He's on the other side. I'm on this side. We're talking to one another. He's going through his bag. He pulls out this great big huge chain, right? And on one end of this chain is a fork. I'm like, that's a gimmick. And he keeps pulling this chain out. And on the other end of it is this curved blade about, a foot long. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. All right. Because up to this point, everybody had heard the stories, right? Everybody's like, holy fuck, Jack can go a little squirrely on you in there if he's not cool with what's going on, right? So I look at my buddy. I look at my buddy Magnus at the time. I'm like, you got those fucking dusters on you? He's like, yep. I'm like, cool. So I throw a pair of knuckle dusters in my pocket just in case, because I'm thinking to myself, if this is going to go down, this is going to go down. This is something that you learn. My generation learned, right?
Right.
Kids nowadays aren't going to know that. So we go out there. We start off right away. Just he comes at me. I cut him off. I start lighting him up. Throw him to the outside. We go to the outside. He gets up on me, tosses me into the post, grabs a beer bottle, smashes the beer bottle. I'm down. I'm looking up. At this point, he's got a busted-ass beer bottle up over my head like this, about to come down. I put my hand in my pocket because I'm thinking to myself, the second that thing touches me, this is going to get crazy. We're not playing this game. I ain't ending up like that. He comes down soft as a motherfucking baby's ass. It was from that moment on, I was like, okay, we're cool. And we had fantastic match after fantastic match every single time. And, believe it or not, New Jack is the kind of guy that he's very, very smart to the business too, especially that new end of the business. He's got a whole lot of, he got a bad rap a lot of time. Now, brought on by himself a lot of time because he fed into the bullshit. You know what I mean? But I still got to, when I'm talking about those guys, I got to put New Jack up there, right?
Absolutely.
I ring announced, I believe, the show they did with New Jack and Collingwood in front of 50 people on a Sunday night, which never draws in this town, never. And that was, we weren't able to run the high school until several years later. But he was nice. He treated me well. He was he was a nice guy, and you heard about New Jack, but he was a super nice guy. And it was you and him against Mikey Madrox and somebody else.
Fellatio.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
That's right. Yeah. And it was wild.
Well, I mean,
it was wild.
We're just out there having fun at that point. You know what I mean? So
yeah, fellatio out there.
But,
so last but not least, number 5, right? Because so
I
far
think you only got 3. I think.
No, you got
Nikita
Koloff, Bruiser Brody,
Bruiser Brody,
New Jack.
Yeah. All right.
You got one more. And I mean, when you think about it, for myself, anyways, it was a guy going back NWA stuff, right? And it was a guy going back that didn't look like Nikita Koloff, didn't look like Ric Flair, didn't look like any of those guys, but motherfucker could go. And he was so charismatic. And the stuff that he did, you believed that he was doing it. And that was Dusty Rhodes.
First name that popped into my mind when you described who you described. Literally. I was like,
all day long. all day long, man, because Dusty was a guy that, like, this was a dude that wasn't going to the gym like everybody else was, but he was so passionate in everything that he said and the way that he worked and the sympathy that that guy could get. I mean, bar none, Dusty Rhodes, man. So there you
Great
go.
top five.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
that's a
lie.
good list. That's a
That's a
great
great top
list.
five. I mean,
Yeah, like
you got a little bit of everything in there: experience, know-how, knowledge, presence, ring
power.
know-how, power, and a little bit of crazy in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, listen,
A lot of crazy.
could you imagine that's the crew that you roll into a bar with?
I ain't got to worry about not leaving that motherfucker. So let's go. If I'm going to the bar, who all coming? Oh hell yeah! Let me go get another 20 because this is about to get shitty tonight.
That's
So
what I'm
I'm
saying.
going. So hey,
But
that's a group that you can't touch it. The reason why I say I can't touch it is because I feel like it's one of those lists that is one is near and dear to you. Because of course, the one thing about this whole podcast is we want to expose everybody for their love of wrestling for what they like, not what everybody else is saying that they like. And oh, I think I like Hulk Hogan because our likes are totally different, and we kind of like that aspect of it. The reason why I like your list, nothing is the same. And what I mean by that is it goes from Dusty to Bruiser Brody to, you know, Ricky Steamboat. You
New
got all
Jack.
these New Jack. Like there's some different dynamics in there that people kind of would say, okay, that'll be in my list, but I don't know why this person would be in your list. And I love that because of course that lets me know that you don't only watch wrestling for just, what people are seeing on TV. You're looking at something else. You're not just looking at the body jumping in the air. You're not just looking at the person and saying, oh, I like him because he's built like me. I mean, 90% of the guys that I like were built like me anyway. But at the end of the day, it's just it's a technique to everybody. It's a love to everybody. Everybody has something different that they can bring to the table. And when you understand what they do for you, that's how they crack the list. That's how they get into that top five. So to make a top five and be able to kind of do it and say, these are the top five I'm sticking by, like you say, if I'm going to take five in the bar with me, these are the five I'm taking. So let's line them up.
That's Friday night.
You
That's what I'm
probably don't
saying.
have a probably don't have a problem. I love the list. I mean, like Nikita, he's an underrated guy. He really doesn't because he
Very.
didn't have a long run.
Nope.
Like and I think his wife, but he was good. And I like I was a fan of Nikita, like especially when he came out, like just so yoked, like he was just so big, and just like a guy that could, like you said, was terrifying.
But I
The
think that's
fucking
the
Russian.
thing.
So,
If you look at the list as a whole, right? Look at the two
Yeah.
ends of it. It was Nikita Koloff on one end, Dusty Rhodes on the other end.
The other, yeah.
Two
yeah,
demonstrously different looking dudes in the same business. But that's the beautiful thing about the world of professional wrestling is that it's so wide and so vast that so many different things can exist in professional wrestling as long as they have one key element. And that key element is exactly what this list is, in my opinion, for whatever the fuck that's worth. And then it has to be believable. Everything that they do has to be believable. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you're built like. As long as you make me believe that what you're doing out there, that you believe your own shit. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want. I want to be surprised, and I want to know that you believe your own shit. That's the beautiful thing about professional wrestling, man. There's a lot of room for everything else.
Absolutely. I think that's when people kind of lose their love for wrestling a little bit when they stop believing it. Like they stop believing what the people are doing. They stop believing what they see. And that's a very valid point. Honestly, you get to the opportunity to think about that. Sometimes you really just don't understand. Like people were like fans when they were kids and they kind of say, I grew out of it. And I can understand that now that, maybe you just didn't see somebody who you could believe anymore. Maybe your childhood hero just wasn't believable anymore at that point to you. I don't know. That could be a very valid point. We got to talk about that a little bit more. We definitely got to talk about that a little bit more.
we will talk it. Yeah, that's believability. That's a huge thing. I mean, that's why we did the top five we did our top 5 heels last time, and it was like, the same kind of thing. Like, did they, did you believe,
Absolutely.
when they turn
Believe
heels?
all
So, Tid, thanks for joining us. We're going to take care of some business.
Excellent.
We'll let you go, but we appreciate your time so much. We're going to try and get that Pabst Blue Ribbon sponsorship, because apparently now we need to pay Twitter. So I'm like, hey, Pabst,
bro, send some of that money my way, or at least at least let me win one of those contests. You know how they do those contests, and 1 of 15 signs or whatever. You just have to go to this internet site and give them all of your information. Listen, man, I give you all enough money as it is. Like, send a brother a little bit of kickback, will you? Come on.
Yeah, Jesus. He definitely, Tid's had his fair share of Pabst Blue Ribbon. I can
you ask anybody
that
you ask anybody that knows me, and me and that name are synonymous for years and years and years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's go.
Well, that's all I buy. That's what I buy for when I buy beer. Like this time.
Yes.
It's Collingwood. I bought.
Look me in the eye. I have Stockholmed an entire industry for drinking your beer now. Come on, man. Smarten up.
Let's support some wrestling podcast for some guys in Ontario. We spend a lot of money on Pabst Blue Ribbon. Anyway, Tid, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. As always.
Always fun. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys.
Come back someday.
Have a good one.
Anytime, man.
Yeah.
Have a great one.
All right. See ya. I told you, like, what a dude. Like, he's so awesome. He's just like being around him in a locker room is just it's a real privilege. Like, and I see it. Like, I see him help young guys. I see him, and just kind of like the guy we're gonna get in the show, my partner on Tornado, and he's kind of my mentor. But it's just like Tid, like he has so much respect for Tid, and everybody does. So, and like his top 5, he just nailed it.
Wow,
just nailed it.
I knew it was gonna be something different, because I was like, he's from a different era, so it's definitely not gonna be somebody who I grew up with necessarily, but of course who I grew up learning about. I can definitely see that, and he didn't disappoint, not one bit. So definitely love Tid. Great guest. I love the fact that he was able to explain some things about the business that most people don't get to see and understand. So I love that aspect of bringing him on. We definitely got to have him back.
Oh, we will. We will. He's we'll definitely have him back, of course. But we got some cool ideas coming up. Next week, we're seeking out a moderator, and we may have a name in mind.
Oh yeah.
I think we're going to try and finagle an appearance. But next week we're picking a year in time. So we're going to put a poll out. We're allowed to do that on X anymore. I have no idea. This just changed like halfway through. It's like you can't go on X anymore. And it's like, maybe we'll send this to Elon. That's bullshit. Like, dude, like, come on. Like, I met him on X. You should be paying us. Like, why am I paying you for this? Like, that's bullshit.
At this point, you're just stripping us away from all of our little power and our little bit of joy of even having the app.
Anyway, but we'll figure out a way to get it done. Just because we want to. Like, I want people to see this. This was a great show, great episode. But we're gonna put out a poll just to pick the year. So 96. I think we're looking at 97, 98, 99, something like that. And we're going to have a War Games. So we each pick 5 from that year, from WCW, ECW, WWE. Right? That's how it works?
That's exactly how it works.
And I believe, like, we're gonna try and see if Country will come on, and Country's gonna pick 2 if he comes on. So he picks 2 of them. We pick the other 3. He picks 2 for George and 2 for me, and we pick the other 3, and we come up with a War Games match for that year in like all of wrestling that existed. So
I'm going to whoop his chunky ass. Just saying. Just putting it out there. Listen, I don't hold no punches, and y'all know it.
Listen, I'm going to be doing some deep dive research into this, So listen, be ready because I'm going to be researching. So
You know,
that's what we
I
got
gotta
coming
put a
up.
team together that not to necessarily rival your team, but a team that's gonna make your team just be like, it just who knows what happens. And, we got to see how this works because we love to kind of pick our favorite wrestlers from a certain year, but those are gonna run out really quick because you pick a
Yeah, but
year,
there's
it's
10
only gonna be
though.
so
There's
many.
10 we can pick.
Oh,
There's 10. And
it's
like,
a good 10.
there's,
Oh, it's a solid 10.
yeah. So I'm excited for that one. And yeah, so this was a great show. Oh man.
Appreciate the
But we're gonna keep
time,
going.
man.
We're gonna figure out
Ah,
how we distribute this going forward because this is weird. This is like everything is like can't do this, you can't do that, you can't. Jesus Christ, can't do anything. So we'll get it moving, and
yep.
maybe we'll just do an audio one.
We
That
need to
seems to
start
be the
doing some
easiest
more audio
way.
books. I think people would listen
Yeah,
more if
we'll
we
be
do
doing.
some audio books now. Maybe
Yeah,
y'all can listen
we'll
that
listen
way.
to the
Let us know
my
if y'all
dulcet
want some more audio
my
books.
dulcet tones.
Listen to my voice all day. I don't know if that's something that you want to do, but at the end of the day, it'll
At
be a
least for an
great
hour a
listen.
day.
It'd be a great listen. That's all. If that's all you got,
Yeah.
um,
But
I might,
anyway, we're gonna
make considerations to some things tonight because, of course, we got a lot of things coming up with the show.
we
Last
do.
few weeks of the show, the big show, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Last few weeks have been, nothing short of good TV. There's more Dom and Rhea drama as usual. Now there's starting to be a little bit
I
of
love
Jay
Dom.
mix,
Love
which
Dom.
is starting to be kind of, in my mind, the most random kind of play on things. And someone won't even probably talk about the guy because, of course, he doesn't like him. But neither here nor there. Um, so
Oh no! So my theory on speaking of board games, and this is just some harebrained theory I had, and
hold on,
I
hold
no
on.
one's gonna.
Disclaimer. Disclaimer. I have nothing to do with this thought. He told me about it. I'm gonna
PSA.
hear about it.
This is they're thinking of like everyone's kind of speculating because Solo's got his 4. Roman we know has 3 for sure, but who's the other on the other side? And I kept thinking about who could it be? And like, then I was like, what about Nia Jax? Like, it's different. She's big. She could probably handle it. They can make it work. I think 100%. I mean, she's got the lineage, and I think it would get a massive pop. Like, I think if she came out to and they put her I think it would get a really good pop, and I think they could make it work with her and give her a little bit of a shove because clearly they're trying. But like, I'm just trying to think who else they could bring in from because it's got to be somebody from the bloodline, and I'm like, what about her? I don't know. Just throw it out there.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't know if
Listen,
me
if she shows
personally.
up, I she shows up on Raw. I'm gonna try and get a finder's fee. Tell you that. If she shows up as part of that angle, like, come on, send me a T-shirt for God's
I'm
sake.
gonna
I'm
tell you
just
right
saying.
now. I just look. If you call Nia Jackson the bloodline, which is the most far fetched idea, that's like saying it'll
But
actually
who else
happen.
could it? Like, yeah, but it's you think, oh, that's stupid, but it's not. Like, I mean, when you look at
I
it,
never said those words.
no, I know you didn't, but somebody out there's thinking that's the stupidest idea. But I mean, you need somebody like she's a big star. She's from the bloodline, similar bloodline. Like she's obviously the Rock is like her and the Rock are close. So you have that, and it's like she's a big girl who could probably handle herself. Like I
I mean,
think she has in
I'm
the
sure
past. I
she can
think she's
take
worked guys.
Tonga out. I'm
Oh,
90% sure, but
like I mean, I think they can make it. I think 1,000% they can make it work. And it's like, can you imagine imagine that picture? Like on one side, Solo, Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu. On the other side, Roman, the Usos, and Nia
Like
Jax.
you see her come out in War Games. I'm not necessarily saying that she's not gonna get a pop, but it's gonna definitely be interesting. Um,
If
and she would have to come
I'm
out
just
that
gonna,
initial.
and I'm
What?
fine to be wrong. Like I probably will be. I don't know if that's what they do, but I just think it's not the dumbest idea.
No, it's
It's just
not.
like
No,
get her in the,
I'm not off.
you
I'm
know,
not off the table about it. I'm just kind of in the mindset of just like I would have to see it. That's the thing. I just would
like
have to see it.
imagine it happened though, and like, oh, you like John, you
If
should buy
it
a lottery
happens,
ticket.
your phone is going to be purple because I'm gonna blow that bitch the fuck up. Who the fuck are you? What are the lottery numbers for next week, bitch? Don't lie to me. Because it's gonna be
Listen,
something like that's gonna be the craziest call out ever. Because I'm just like, I can't see it, but as it's like I said, I just can't not say it's far fetched because it's like it makes sense to do, but I'm just like I don't know if I would.
yeah, you don't know if they're gonna do it. Who knows?
Right,
Like
and
they're way smarter than me, so
she would have to come out and dog somebody, like dog two or three of them at least, to where it's really convincing for her to even be a part of it.
hit a couple Samoan drops, like just
Yeah,
couple clotheslines. You clothesline them
yeah,
both. Like you could clothesline Jacob Pot too, and then like you could stagger and or he just get up. But like she could clothesline both of them. And, like there's things obviously she's strong enough to do, and I'm just like I think it's who knows.
a full
But
match though.
yeah, but it's a 6 man, right? Like it's a 6 man, a 10, an 8 man. How many people are in it? It's an 8 person. Pardon me, 8 person match. Like it's just so it's who knows? I don't know. Anyway, that's all I got. This was a great episode. I loved it. And
Absolutely.
but man, we're gonna keep grinding here, keep hustling. Next week it's the War Games from whatever year we throw up.
Because I'm pretty sure we're gonna throw up a nice little year. I think the biggest thing about the
Yeah.
year is gonna be uh what year is going to be. So um do you want to kind of spitball a year or two to kind of spit out right now? What about 96,
Well,
95?
I like 97. I like
97
97.
is cheating because 97 is gonna bring on a good ass war games because of course,
It would be really
that
good.
star power is really high. Um, you could
How
do
about 93? I like
93.
93.
93. Okay.
93. Yeah,
Yeah.
93. So because that's like when WWF was starting to like go down and WCW was already kind of
Kind of,
flatlining.
yeah, it was kind of just
Yeah, the
not
business
raising up
was in
the
the
bar.
shitter.
But
But there were really good guys and really good wrestlers there in 93. Like I think there's some meat on that bone. So yeah,
that's
93.
because
Sounds good, man.
97
We're
and
gonna kick it
93.
now.
See it.
Yeah. What?
I say 97 and 93. We're gonna see. We're gonna see which who
Yeah, we'll
likes
put the
what.
pool up. Yeah. All right. I think I'm. I think I am. I don't know. I don't know why I'm losing. Something's murky. So I think we're gonna hop out of here
Yeah.
and
I'm gonna watch
get back
the
to the
Dark
night.
Side of the Ring trailer on Johnny K9 because you guys brought it up, so now I
Oh,
gotta
watch
watch.
that episode. Oh,
Yeah,
watch that episode. Oh, yeah. It's dude. Watch the episode. Yeah, it's you know he was a serious guy. There's no doubt about that. He's a serious guy. But everyone, thank you much for joining us. Or everyone who will join us. Have a good
everybody,
one.
thank you. Like, share, subscribe. Come back next week.
Yeah.
See you. Peace.